In this session, we're going to look at adding content to our page, also looking at the different containers and adding padding to our containers. This will allow the information to sit more cleanly on the page. Also, we're going to look at working with our titles and adjusting our navigation to the right hand side. So first of all, we need to get some content for our page. A good website to generate random content is actually www.randomtextme. In here we can actually make lorem type outputs, or we can actually generate gibberish. I'm a big fan of gibberish. We can set the number of paragraphs we actually want, so we could actually say, well, I'm looking for 3 paragraphs. I want somewhere between 20 words and say 45 words, and click generate, and it creates the 3 paragraphs with the random word length. The other thing we can do in here is actually create as HTML tags. So we can actually pick up the paragraph sections by just highlighting that and copying, Command C, and then we can head back to Dreamweaver and paste this into the appropriate place. In Dreamweaver, I'm going to head to the code view and head down to the section 1. So we know that we're inside the article. Here's the first section. You can see this is the subpart of article 1. This is the content part with these p tags. So I'm just going to highlight this and I'm going to paste the 3 paragraphs I just copied from the random text generator. So when I look at my design now, you can see that there's been 3 paragraphs pasted in there. You'll notice that it's hard up against the left side, and we'll probably want to fix that as we go along. But before we go any further, I just want to paste another 2 paragraphs in the bottom. So I'm going to head back to the code. So underneath article 2, I'm going to paste all 3 and then delete the final paragraph. So I'm just going to delete from the p tag close to the p tag open. And then when we have a look at the design view now, we've got 2 paragraphs there. We also need some information in on our side, so let's go back and add some content there as well. So where a side is, we can just paste the 3 paragraphs there, or if you wanted to, you can actually make the paragraphs longer so it has more form. Let's have a look at this. So now you can see the content's actually placed on our document. But we need to start controlling the document and making it look more presentable. So let's start with the heading. Now you notice in our HTML before we've actually got H1 tags and H2 tags. Just to go back and have a look, you notice our headings, we've got heading 1s up here, and as we go into our sections we've got heading 2 tags. So let's go write a style sheet for this. So what I'm going to do is place a comment tag in here to section off this area of our cascading style sheet, and we're going to call this typography. And this will help us section up our CSS. So currently we're dealing at the top part with all our sections, and then in the bottom part we can actually deal with typology. So one of the first things I want to deal with is the H1 tag. Also I want to deal with the H2 tag. Now I can declare both those tags together. So in a way I'm making an array because I want all these to apply to the same one. So what I want to do in here, let's start with a font family. And I can actually add some fonts to this. So if you go in, you can get a list. I'm actually just going to pick one out of here. Let's go with the Gotham. And we can actually have a look at that font now in our design view. And you can see it's a different font that we had before. So let's go with that one, that looks okay. And also I can actually change what the font looks like. So with the font weight, I can also make that lighter. So when we have a look at it now, you see that it's not so bold, but it's still a nice square font. We can actually change its alignment as well. We could actually say that we want all those tags to be text align, and we can actually center that. So all those headings can be centered. But as you notice, if we apply it to all the H1, H2 tags, then everything moves, and we may want to do that individually. So I'm going to remove from our code that line and we'll apply it later. So at the moment for the H1, H2 we want it to be like that. Now if we just want the top heading here to be centered, we can actually use a subclass. What does that mean? Well, inside container then we have our header. So I could actually say that in header and in the H1 I would like that to be centered only. So therefore only the H1 headers to be centered. So let's have a look at that. Notice that this has been centered, but yet the H2s that are out here and the H1 that's out here is still left aligned. So we can actually control the what are called subclasses. So we can talk to each of the elements of the subclass of HTML individually in the different sections. So therefore this H1 is local to the header div tag or section tag, where these two up here are applied globally across the whole sheet. Now if we have a look at our design again, you can see that everything's hard up against the margin on the left hand side. So let's have a look at fixing that. So let's go into the aside and put some padding in there to fix that. The width of the container here is actually made up of the margin plus the padding plus any borders that you've given. And this also goes for the height as well. So you must remember margins and padding because they add up to those size of those boxes. Just before you put the padding in there, make sure you have a semicolon to end each statement. So now we can put the padding in. When we talk about padding, you've got to remember it takes in the top, so we can have 0. And that doesn't matter if it's percentage or pixels, because 0 is 0. Then we deal with the right. So at the moment we could actually have no padding there as well. We could have a bottom, which is 0. And then we can have the left padding, which we might actually say is 15 pixels. So let's have a look at this. Now you notice that it's moved. It's actually gone back down to the bottom. As I said before, that 15 pixels that I've added to the side has actually gone onto the width of the box. Now it exceeds the outer container and therefore slides down our page because we've been floating things left. So I need to make sure that if I do add 15 pixels here, the width of the box then needs to be reduced by 15 pixels, because 315 plus 15 still gives us our 330, and we go back to design now, it's back here. So if I want a small gap on the right hand side so it's not hard up, I could add a small 10 pixel gap in there. So heading back to our CSS, remember that we're looking at top right, bottom left, so we could actually say I would like a 10 pixel indent there, and remember the width of the container needs to change to 10. So when we click over here, now we've got a small gap on the right hand side and a gap on the left hand side. So we can do this to all the different content areas. So as we go through and we see the section here, if we would want the title right down to the bottom here, we could actually apply this to the whole container. So we could actually use the outer container here, which is part of our article. So we can go to article and we can apply the same formatting as well. So I'm just going to pick up this padding and remember to put the semicolon on the end and add some padding to this as well. So now you can actually see that this is all the subsections have moved in and the heading's still on the left because I've applied it to the article section, where the article, the outer article, is actually still hard up on the left hand side. If I would like to move that slightly, I could actually apply that. But at the moment, if I go to the design view only, I'm happy with that. Notice that I haven't adjusted the width of the text box yet. So remember, as you add those, you need to subtract them from the width of the box. So when I head down to my article section, I've added 10 and 15 to the right hand side and to the left hand side. So that's 25. So I need to reduce this by 25. So we get 605. Remember, go check your design. Now it's floated back in nicely in alignment with a left and a right indent. Now I'm happy with what's happening with our text and things like that. So let's send our navigation over to the right hand side. So once again, we'll head into the section that we need to work with, which is nav. And we're going to text align. And we can actually send that off to the right hand side. But remember, you need to put the semicolon at the end of the colors that I didn't do before. So it's a good idea to get in the habit of every time you put in a style sheet command, put a semicolon afterwards. Let's go have a look. Now my home, contacts and search are on the right hand side. So the last thing I've got is the footer, and we can actually use some padding to move that around as well. So let's head to the code. Head down to the section that is footer. At the moment we've got clear both. We have a width and we have a height. So this is moving the height of the box, and you can see that it has moved down. If I want to center it, I could actually just center it using text align. Once again, remember, put your semicolons on the end. And then once it's aligned, we can actually go to center and have a look. So that's in the center. If you're not happy with that, you could actually send it to the right and have a look. But I think I might leave it in the center, so I'm just going to head back to my code and put center back in there and go have a look at the design. And I think it's better in the middle at the moment. Currently I have all these colors in the background, and we may want to move I'll get rid of those and adjust those as we go along. If we want to, we can actually adjust the font color. So in our subsection, we might want to actually change the title color. But before we do that, we'll actually adjust all the different colors. Now, you know we've got background colors in here. So rather than delete them all, I'm just going to comment them out with a forward slash star. And then at the end of the statement, put a star forward slash. And that will rend them out. So remove them so it doesn't read them, because I may need them again. And at the end, it's very easy to go through and just delete all the comments out. So as I go through and apply these, you'll see that all the grey is coming through, because that's coming from our overall container, which has grey. So we'll just finish removing all these. Now when I have a look at the design, you can see it's all just a plain web page. So if I did actually want to change the title color, I can do that. If I want to change the navigation colors, I can also do that. You notice at the moment the navigation is hard up on the right hand side, so I might actually add some padding to that right now. So once again, I'll go down, I'll pick up this padding here, head to the navigation, and I'll place some padding in there. So we're going for the right hand side 10 pixels, and I'm just going to set the left to 0. Remember, once again, we need to subtract that from the width, so we change this to 50, save that, and have a look at the design. Notice how it's moved just off the right. If you want to break between the words and the actual container, we can actually adjust that by putting some padding in the header. So now we have a page ready to be stylized with a theme. So spend some time researching what background colors, foreground colors, title fonts, etc. that you need to apply to this document, and apply them appropriately. We'll cover themes in another tutorial, so I hope this helped you get your structures in place, ready for the theme to be applied.